just, so everybody who's here, we get everybody in. I don't want to, should I take it now so we don't forget? Yeah. But now everyone's like, God, this better be good. So I'm really that excited. Well, I have to be, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. You tell me.
Guys.
Okay, that's what she learned.
So, hello. Welcome. I first want to say I'm so thrilled to be here. I love Fan Expo shows. I love Dallas, and I love you. And I also have met almost every one of you in this room, and it just fills me with great joy. So thank you. Thank you for coming to my apartment. So basically, this is a. Come on in, guys. Is that a frying pan? Yeah, or a drying pan. That's not my line. So this is a Q&A. So you have the questions. I hopefully will have the answers. So we'll just kind of launch right in. We have a masterful roaming microphone. So you just have to ask your question and then off we go. Yes?
First question over here.
If you could set up a Pokemon battle between two Pokemon, which two Pokemon would you pick?
I'm a lover, not a fighter, so I prefer not to battle. Gosh. Diglett and Snorlax.
I think that's what I'd go for. It would be a real snoozer, but yeah, I'd go for that, just for fun. Yes.
Would you ever join Team Rocket?
Would I ever join Team Rocket? I think Ash actually has kind of joined Team Rocket in costume at some point, but although it sounds good in Star Wars, I don't really like to go to the dark side. And that's kind of like a gray side. They're not that dark. So I think no. I'm going to say no. Definitely no. I really think good is better than evil at all times, even if the evil is a little clumsy and goofy. Yes.
How do you sound like Ash?
You mean like how do I actually make the sound? Okay, so the bigger answer to your question is I started acting when I was 5, and I did plays at school, I played soccer, I did stage combat, I took dance. I went to college and grad school for acting. I toured with a bunch of acting companies. So everything that I know about making sound comes from classes that I've taken and from being on the road, like this, showing up in a place, putting on a show. Also the same with projection, how to use your diaphragm, your stomach muscles to get the sound to go forward. When you are speaking, you have all these areas where you can get the sound to come from. So some voices are really up here, and then Ash's voice is back here, a little nasally, kinda, here, and it kind of comes about here. So it gets a little bit scratchy. Not the best vocally hygienic because there's no air coming out. So it might not have been the best choice to make, but it certainly is a fun voice to do. So that's how it is. I just kind of push my voice back and squeeze a little bit. That's the real answer. That's all you wanted, right? I just push it back and squeeze. So, yes.
Do you think that Ash will ever win a Pokemon League?
Are you dissing me, man?
My bigger answer to that is it's not really about winning, it's the journey. I actually, from playing Ash for so long, I never really realized that he lost so much. Because I was in the moment, and then also if he had no lines, I never saw that part until later. Because when you're dubbing something, you only see the parts where your lines are. So it didn't hit me as much. But what I took away from him is that journey towards the goal. And so not until I started really going to conventions and people asked me that question did I realize, yeah, I guess he does lose a lot. So I would hope he would win. But in a way it doesn't matter so much. It's kind of the friendships he makes along the way and what he learns about himself. So, that's what I take from it, instead of going like, yeah, I hope so. Yes.
Hey,
Hi.
thank you for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. You know, Pokemon's been a big part of my life, so it means a lot. My question is, so what is, I don't know how familiar or, you know, how much you keep up with Pokemon, but what would you say, if you do, is your favorite iteration or generation of Pokemon?
I was in the first 8 years of Pokemon, so I haven't really followed it after I was replaced. But I would still say the original 150. They're my favorite because that's what it was. That's what we all memorized. That's what the Who's That Pokemon was about, you know, and I loved that simplicity of it, and you knew what you were watching and what you were learning about and all the skills that each Pokemon did and what you were memorizing, and they were simple, and I like that. I think the simplicity of Pokemon is what unlocks your imagination and is what allowed you when you were a kid to watch the show and then go out and play it in the playground. You took that and played the cards with your friends or whatever. It didn't fill it all in for you, and I think now it does too much of the job for you, in a way. So that's just, you know, it's still great, but I like the beginning because of that. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Bianca. I just had a quick question. Is there an episode from the ones that you've done that really maybe stuck to your heart, that really stuck with you all these years, that you'll never forget, that you actually recorded and got to do?
Yeah, you know what I loved about, there's a few episodes that I really liked. We recorded it and it all kind of blobbed together, but the parts that I really loved, other than battling, because I don't do that in my real life so much, I loved the parts that were some real emotion. I did like, as Delia saying, don't forget to change your underwear. That I thought was really funny, so I won't forget that. But you know, like when Ash is saving Charmander, when setting Butterfree free, or when they all parted, Ash and Brock and Misty, and things like that, where we can all relate to that in our lives. We've all had times when we had to let something or someone go, and to be able to live that in the cartoon and then have an understanding, especially as a kid, how to then live that in real life, those were great moments as an actor to get to play. So that's my favorite parts.
Hi, there was a moment in Pokemon the first movie where Ash took a giant explosion for Pikachu and ends up dying, and I cried during that moment. Have you cried during Pokemon moments?
I have.
Which ones?
Well, I was going to say I cried when I found out we were being replaced, but that was a separate thing. Yeah, that, especially when I watched it, I find with Pokemon more than any other show that I have worked on, when I watch it, I don't watch it as like, oh, I should change that, or oh, I wish we had. I watch it as if I'm just watching a show, and I can live it through Ash's adventure, much like we all do. And so definitely, those moments make me cry. Some of them when we're recording, it makes me cry because you're in it, and that's where it, you know, if you're not fully involved, it's not believable. So I record a lot of audiobooks, and that's the same thing. Like, there are times, my terrible thing is that when I cry, my nose gets stuffy. So if you are narrating the book, and then you're doing the characters, if the character is saying something that's so emotional, then you have to say, she said, you know, afterwards. So for me, it's being able to have that emotion that's real and then be able to switch back into another character. So those things do affect me. Yes?
When recording Pokemon, was there ever a character besides Ash, of course, that you were like, wow, I wish I could voice that particular character?
Maybe not with Pokemon specifically, but I'm an actor and I really want to just play all the parts, which is kind of what helps me with audiobooks because I get to play all the parts. So not necessarily. I don't know, I like the challenge of different roles. So I never have thought specifically like, oh, when I'm watching the show, I wish I was that person. Because I really value the actor who is currently doing it. So I don't really have that, do you know what I mean? But certainly there's roles I've auditioned for and not gotten that I wish I had. But that's a big lesson in life, is being able to like put yourself fully into something and let it go when you don't get it. So I tend to not think about it too much. Yeah.
I'm gonna get a little deep here.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask, when you were replaced, how did you feel? Like, was that?
Yes. Are you
Like-
crying now?
No,
Should I cry?
why did you ask
No,
that?
but you know what? It's an interesting thing though, because the thing is that we were all really committed to the show. And as with everything I work on, you give 100%. But with Pokemon, we worked on that show for 8 years. And when we found out we were being replaced, it had nothing to do with us. We were just told, we don't need you. And so it was really, really upsetting and continued to be upsetting, which is my own problem that I couldn't let that go so easily. But it was very sad, and it's something that I care about so much, and then that it goes on without you. It's just, but you have to get over it, or else you just go under.
What do you think of the new cast, like with all that, like after all that? Are you happy with it?
I actually don't watch the show. I realize I'm not mature enough to do something like that, to
I don't
watch
think
those
so.
faces that I love and hear other voices. It's too hard for me, but I don't watch it regularly. But I do find out at shows I keep up with kind of what's going on that way. So I think it's hard to be a replacement cast anyway, because you're basically just trying to fill in and be what was before, so you don't get your own fresh start, and that's a tough thing. I'm Sailor Pluto now in Sailor Moon, and so that's a tough thing too, because the original cast was so fantastic, and then I'm called upon to kind of now play this in a new way, and at the same time I want it to be somewhat an homage to what was, and it's a complicated thing, so I'm not totally free to play it the way I want or whatever, because it existed before me. So it's a difficult thing.
Changing tone a bit to a lighter subject, this goes back a ways. You might not even remember this. I remembered it because I found it on Spotify recently.
Yes.
So y'all recorded a Christmas album
We did.
with the cast, and I was wondering, do you have a bit of like insight on how that came to be? Because it's very peculiar.
You mean you love it? Is that what
It's fantastic.
We listen to it every Christmas in my house. We are weirdos. So, yeah, I actually don't know, but it was like, oh yeah, we're going to do a Christmas album, and it was one of those things, like with Pokemon, very hodgepodge, like we're recording here, recording there, late at night, or whenever. Yeah, and it just kind of came together. All people working on the show wrote the songs. What's the Pokemon, at the Pokemon Christmas, that's Eric Stewart wrote that. Anyway, it was super fun to work on. I think it's really funny to listen to. And so it also never was pushed at all. So I remember when it came out, I was calling Virgin Megastore to kind of say like, are you carrying do you have the Pokemon Christmas Bash in stock? Just to see if anybody had it. And so it didn't, it really wasn't out there very much. So I don't know if you could have bought it easily then.
At least now it's on Spotify, so you can go listen to it now.
Everybody can listen all the time. Yeah, it is a kooky favorite of mine.
Yes, I'm just wondering, what was the process for Ash's voice and May's voice? Like, how do you decide this is going to be Ash's voice and this is going to be May's voice?
Yeah, so that's a good question. A lot of this, Pokemon is dubbed, so it was done in Japan first, which means that, again, I don't have the luxury to decide what the voice will sound like. They wanted us to sound similar to what existed before. So when we auditioned, in both cases, for anything on Pokemon, they would we saw a tiny clip of the original Japanese and then had to, kind of get in the ballpark for what that might sound like in English. So it was the same for that. So in my real life, when I get an audition at home, so, now things have changed. Are there any actors here? Yes? No? Any actors? So the short version is before when you would audition for things, you'd go to a casting director, you'd get your sides with your lines on it, you do the audition, they'd say, that's good, but now could you make it faster, or could you make it younger, or whatever. Now you record everything at home. So in my hotel room, I can audition for something on my little travel mic, things like that. There's no one to talk to. So what you do for a cartoon that's being made, prelay, which means without something before it, you see a description, sometimes a picture of the character, and you come up with like, oh, I think this is how the character will sound, or maybe I'll make her squeakier, or maybe, like this. When you're dubbing something, generally it sounds like the original, in whatever language it is. I don't know which eyes to look at you in, these or these. No, that's good, I like that. Yes?
What's your favorite Pokemon episode?
My favorite Pokemon episode? The first episode. I love that Ash was in his pajamas and he wakes up late, a lot like I do. And, like when watching that first thing, you kind of had no idea what this whole series was going to be about. And that, I thought it was a great first show. Because by the end of it, you wanted to go on the adventure. And so that the first episode is my favorite. I think they all got better and better, but the first episode.
Hi, my favorite Pokemon is Eevee, and I was wondering, out of all the evolutions Eevee turns into, which is your favorite?
I like to say Eevee because I don't want to get in trouble and pick something. but I do like the fact that Eevee is just full of possibility, like you are, like we all are. We can choose where we go, how we evolve, basically depending on what's around us. And I like that because it's just, well, the simple form, the most basic. So Eevee's my favorite.
Hi, my name is David. Thanks for coming out here. Pokemon was a big part of my life.
I can see
growing
that. I hope you wear that all the time.
This is my go-to cosplay.
Awesome. I'm proud of you.
Wondering if you have a favorite Pokemon or a favorite type, at least from the original 150?
Pikachu is my favorite. I spend so much time with Pikachu. Plus, I could listen to a whole. That's awesome. Is that why you wore a yellow shirt too? You're so Pikachu-y. I could listen to a whole episode and just listen to Pikachu. I think she's so wonderful. So yeah, Pikachu's my favorite.
Favorite type?
I know. I don't know. Let's just go with fire. Thank you very much. Or grass, or no, fire. Go ahead.
I want to say is thank you for everything about Pokemon. I grew up with the show, the games, everything. My question is, what was your favorite moment when Ash defeated Team Rocket?
Did he defeat Team Rocket?
We're blasting all the way home,
I think this show would have been nothing without Team Rocket. They're so funny. They're that classic vaudevillian comic that we need in a show. So I love the fact that they never recognize them. Just so that we can all watch the show and just go along with the joke. I just thought that was so fun. Did they ever defeat Team Rocket? Did they actually defeat? In his mind, maybe he did. Every single episode. But otherwise, I don't even know. I don't know what. Did you have a favorite moment?
I guess you could say it was when Pikachu electrified him with all those Pikachus.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, that'll be my favorite.
I had to rewatch the episodes.
Oh, that's good. So do I, obviously. Okay. Hi, you guys. Hi. There's some chairs up here if you want to come, if you dare to come. But there's 3 up here you can sit. There's another one over here. Come on up. Yes? Question?
Do you have any advice on improving as a Pokemon trainer? I could really use it.
Practice.
Any advice?
You'd have to talk to Professor Oak about that, I think.
Well, as a Pokemon Go player who's only at level 8, I may not be the best one to counsel you. But I think the key to being a great Pokemon trainer is to have a lot of great Pokemon trainer friends. because the only way you really learn about it is by sharing information and all of that. Yes? Is that the answer you wanted, or you just wanted me to say something? I know you guys. You're troublemakers. Yes.
So we all know in the show that Gary Oak is a huge jerk.
Yes.
So whenever you were recording and you guys were playing back and forth, did you ever in your head like want to say something you weren't supposed to say, or just like play around with him?
We always recorded alone in the booth, so I never actually was in the booth with him. So honestly, we didn't have a lot of time to fool around on that show and make up stuff because we were really working at a pretty fast pace. We did 52 episodes in a year, and so that means we had to do more than one a week, like an episode and a half a week. So it went pretty fast. It was like, let's just get this done, kind of. But certainly when I'm reading the lines, I thought of things, but I never would say it out loud. Because Ash would never say it, so as Ash, I would never say anything. People always say that to me. Oh, can you say blah, 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 you know, a bad word as Ash? And I'm like, no, I can't actually, because he just doesn't, that's not how he thinks at all. As Delia, though, no.
If given an opportunity to come back to the show, even if it's a different character, would you?
I would not hesitate to say yes if I was offered to come back to the show again. I don't know if I would want to play a different character on it. I hadn't really thought about that, honestly. I don't know, it might be a little weird. But the opportunity hasn't come up, so I haven't had to consider that. But I loved working on this show. It changed my life in terms of how I looked at life, how I looked at people, how I understood positivity, all of that. So it was really important. Plus, my daughter was born at the end of season 1, so my whole life changed anyway in how I thought about everything. So yeah, I would love to be working on it again. But if I weren't Ash, I'm not sure how I would handle it. But if I have to make that choice, I'll let you know. Yes, hi.
Just wanted to sort of, first of all, share that my fiance, she got Pikachu costumes for both her service dog, and myself.
Oh, really?
And a picture of all three of us wearing Pikachu costumes, and she sort of titled it underneath the caption, "Because we love you."
Oh, that's great.
Okay. So,
did you take it already, the picture?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You have to send it to me.
So my question is sort of more towards voice acting and entertainment. When was the one moment in your life, that epiphany that you got that basically said, yes, this is what I want to do?
I was 5. I was doing a play, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and it was the moment where I was playing Goldilocks at the moment where does everyone know the story? No spoilers, but she's in the bear's house, and she sits on some chairs, and one of them breaks. And so I sat, as a 5-year-old, they had a broken chair. So I'm sitting collapsed, and everyone's laughing, and I remember thinking, hold for the laugh. And then it was at that moment I decided that's what I wanted to do, is be an actor. So that's what I've always wanted to do. And when I got out of grad school, I was like, should I have considered something else? But at that point, it was too late. So, yeah, I guess I always knew. Yes. Hi.
Hi. I have to ask if you ever got the Pokey rap stuck in your head.
I didn't, although certainly if I hear it playing. So at work, we never heard it, but I did watch the show in the mornings and on Saturdays. So it kind of, it's definitely there, but I never find myself humming it because I haven't seen it enough. Plus, I had a little kid at home, so I've never been able to fully watch TV and just watch TV. That's a luxury that a 10-year-old has that I haven't had. So no, but that song is really great. And I never memorized it. How many people memorized the Poke Rap? Nice job. Nice. How many people aren't admitting that they memorized it? Yes. Yes.
Miss Taylor.
Yes.
Big fan.
Yes.
Do you know, so you mentioned earlier that you play Pokemon Go.
Yes.
What team are you on and why?
I'm on Team Valor because it's red, and I thought that was the most ashy, actually. And I do think Ash has a quality of valor. So, yeah, I picked it because of that. Hi.
What level are you on Pokemon Go?
8. Do I play it very often? No. I have met up with other people playing it and then didn't turn my phone on for some reason. So I'm just not the best with that. I do find it hard to, I'm kind of in the world too much, as anyone knows. I don't post a lot on social media things because I'm just not on my phone for that. Like I'm checking my email and getting texts from my family, and that's my first priority after work. So I don't play enough. But what level are you?
24.
24. Wow. And how old are you?
7.
7. That's great. I'm proud of you. No, I think that's good. Well, when you're 7, that's what you should be doing. And you're reading. I know you're doing other things too. So, all right. I'm proud of you. Yes.
So you've been into animes now. So how do you feel about animes overall?
Yeah, I've done a lot of anime actually, and what I really love about it is that the stories are a little bit deeper. Did anybody see Grave of the Fireflies? That's a really beautiful piece, and that's pretty deep, and there's so much mythic quality. Even Pokemon has a deeper storyline, I think, than maybe some of our American cartoons. One thing I love, I was in His and Her Circumstances, and that, I played the main character in that, and she's a high school girl, and she goes from like sad to happy to angry back to happy in like a minute, all through the show. And I think that's kind of how we all are, but we learn how to hold it in a little bit more. And what I love is that she's just out there. And there's a lot that I get to play in anime because of that. They're just all over the place. So I do like it. I like the stories.
Can you sing the Pokemon theme song as Ash?
I can't actually. I don't know it enough. Like, I could hum it in the car, but I only know it from watching it on TV. We never did it at work. I was going to say at school.
I didn't go to school.
Yeah, so I don't really know it, but I could say,
I want to be the very best, and that's all I'm going to say.
Yes.
Okay, so first off, I just want to say that I love the show so much, and while I may not have grown up with it, I may or may not have binge watched the entire series in 3 months.
Right, but you got out of the house if you did indeed watch it.
Yeah. So my question is there anything that you think Ash has done or would do, or just anything about Ash that wasn't like shown on the show, but you personally have like headcanons about?
Well, you know what? He never really gives his mom a hug, does he? You know, like, I think the thing is, we don't ever really see how deep that relationship is with his mom. And in some ways, I guess we don't really need to, but that's integral to who they are. The fact that she knows him so well that she lets him go at 10 on a journey. You know, like, there's a level of, I don't know what, I wouldn't let my daughter go on a Pokemon journey. I'd go with her, but you know, like, there's something about the bond that they have, and then people always say like, oh, who's Ash's dad, and you know, all of that, which I don't know. But the thing is it's just the two of them, and whether the fact that the dad isn't there, I don't know if that's something that on the surface doesn't play in their day-to-day lives, but part of that is underneath, and part of that is also the bond of their relationship. So I think in a way it would be kind of cool to see some more about how they work together. But at the same time, as a 10-year-old, you're not thinking about your parents ever, so off you go. But it would be kind of neat to see the underneath of that.
So if you could have any Pokemon as a pet other than Pikachu, which one would it be?
Well, after giving this great thought, I have decided on Charizard because I lived in New York City and now I live in Los Angeles, both of which have a lot of traffic. And, also small apartments, so this is not the best choice, but a Charizard to fly around on, I would take that. Yeah, thank you very much. I wish I had a flying carpet, but I guess the next best thing is a Charizard. But you have to feed it, so I'm not sure. Yes?
I just wanted to ask what your favorite line from the show was, and if you can say it in Ash's voice.
I love when after a big battle, and Ash says to Pikachu, "Hey, buddy." Sorry, I'm popping my peas. That's one thing you don't want to do, so move your mouth so you don't pop in the microphone.
Hey, buddy, you deserve a good long rest.
I like that. It's so cute and nice. Yes.
What is your thought on Ash and Misty as a couple?
Ew. No offense, but they're 10. So I'm not really thinking they should date anyone, really. I don't think Ash is the best, as far as like the best eligible bachelor. Only because he really is so goal-focused that I don't think he'd remember, like, oh, we were supposed to go to the movies tonight. He'd be like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Pikachu and I were blah, 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 you know? I don't think, so I don't know. I think really when they grew up, they're such good friends. I don't know if that would work out. And when you have something like this whole bike thing as the root, I'm not sure if it would really, I don't know, unless he got her like an engagement bike or something. And the bell is a big diamond. But I don't know.
Question up here in front?
Yes, hi.
What was the moment that you realized that Pokemon was huge as opposed to just like a huge iconic role as opposed to something that was just another voiceover job?
Well, it was a couple things. So when we recorded it, we really were just in the booth and then I went home. So we started in April of 1998 and it aired in September of 1998. And so by Christmas, on the bus in New York City, kids had cards and they were talking about it. And I think, and then the movie came out the next, I don't know, May or June of 2000. And I got to go to the premiere in Los Angeles for that. And then I was like, wow, this is big, you know? But leading up to it was hard to tell. But you could hear kids on the street talking about it. And then I thought, well, I think it is something, maybe people are actually watching it. And I guess you all were. Yeah, so it was kind of a cool thing.
All right, first I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming out. Pokemon has always been such a big part of my life, and there's been so many movies of Pokemon that you've acted in. What would probably be one of your favorite movies that you've done?
Well, I think they all have some great messages. Again, the first one is my favorite. I think that's the strongest one, of that power of friendship and what we are willing to do for someone we love, the sacrifices we'll make. So I really loved that. Plus getting as Ashton, like, running up all those stairs. But then the next one, I think of him like as the Entei movie, the Celebi movie, you know, like that with Celebi in the water. That was, what an environmental movie that was. What a message. The last movie I did had Lucario in it, and again, it was never written in our script, so I just don't remember the names. But I love that Ash got to dress up and play another character, you know, like, I liked when Ash was in costumes, like when he was Ashley in the perfume store. You know, to be a girl playing a boy playing a girl, just a great challenge. So I liked all of those. Yes, hi.
Was Ash your favorite voice? If not, who was it?
Ash is definitely one of my favorite roles of all time. Plus, I got to play him for 8 years, and I've never had a job that long in my life, except for Mother. I've had that now 19 years. That's a good one, too. But Yeah, definitely that the challenge of playing him and trying to finding the reality of who he was and what he cared about. This is my favorite one. Yes.
Hi. So I know a lot of actors talk about how they can really get into a role by feeding off of other people that they're acting with. How did you really get like emotionally attached and like how did you get into the story when you're always by yourself?
Yeah, it's really about, I think that's a great question because I am always by myself. And even like, as in for an audiobook, for instance, you're alone, just reading to yourself, basically. The thing about it, it's acting. And that's what pulls me through. Because when, for instance, since we're talking about Pokemon, when I would go in to record, I get the script, the screen is here, and then we just start. They might say, oh, maybe a little about what's going to happen in the episode, but not very much. So really, you're looking at the script for the first time. You don't hear any lines around it. So the skill is to skim through, to kind of guess what the people around you are saying, and you get to your line, you hear 3 beeps, and then you start, and then you're watching the monitor, so you might think that the line sounds one way, but the face is like this, so then you have to shift, and then you might have to do it over again if you're way off base. But really, it's about playing the moment, because you don't know what's going to come up. When since we were talking about it before, that episode where Brock and Misty and Ash part, I didn't know at the beginning that that's where it was going. I was just working on Sailor Moon thing or whatever, and I was like, oh, something happened to Sailor Pluto, and I was like, am I coming back? Is this my last episode? Like, but I didn't know anything when I went in about what's happening with that. Nor do they say ahead of time, like, oh, we've got a lot of episodes coming up, or that kind of thing. I just get a call and I go in. So it's really playing the moment. All you can do is do that, because you only know what's kind of come before, and you don't know where it's going. So it's a great acting exercise in terms of that. But my training pulls me through to be able to construct it in my head.
So I'm going to stray away from Pokemon a little bit.
Okay.
Back when you were working on One Piece,
yeah.
How do you exactly feel about the dub? Do you think it worked with the targeted audience?
Well, the 4Kids one that I worked on, the thing is, yes, if they didn't change things, it could never have gone on broadcast TV on Saturday morning. So it could never have been aired. So ultimately, I think if it was going to go on the air, the only way that anyone would have seen it was in that incarnation. Do I think it's better as it is now? I know with Funimation, they're just doing the way it actually is, so you get to see the real story. Well, of course that's better. But if it had been that, it would never have gotten on TV, because there's so many, with standards and practices, you cannot put stuff like that on for children, Saturday morning block, and none of that stuff. You can't have guns and cigarettes and stuff like that for children. So it's either the toss-up of, was it better that we all saw some of it, or should it never have aired? Either way, I like playing Nico Robbins, so I'm happy it aired. But yeah, I think it's a valid point, for sure. But I know why they changed it, so. Yes?
What was your thought on Mega Pokemon when they came out?
I don't know that much about Mega Pokemon because it's after my time as Ash. Well, here's my question for you. So if you've got Pokemon that can evolve to their fullest sense, do they need to continue on as Mega?
I don't know.
I don't know either. So it's kind of like, is it a good thing, or is it just like we got tired of making up Pokemon, so now they're Mega? I'm not sure. I don't know. But there's so much. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, you guys have friends, and you constantly evolve with your friendships, but you never have to go like, oh, I'm going to sub you out because I'm going for the Mega version of you. You know, like, I don't know. I think we all have so much capacity within us for change, for evolution, for fun, that I kind of think, you know, there's a lot of distance we can travel with just like the basic Pokemon. Is that the answer you were looking for?
I think they're temporary.
So first of all, I want to preface, huge fan of the show, since I was a kid, still have and everything. How much is too much? And I'm kind of laughing at the show here, but you know, of course, everyone's had that moment where they're like, "Oh my gosh, they came out with another 100." Like this is literally never gonna end. So have you had that? What I don't know. To be a part of the show, is everyone working on the show kind of saying that same thing too, or is it?
I don't know because I'm not on that now. So it's just what's amazing to me is that it does continue to grow and that people still follow it. You know, like they come out with these great games. And then it drives people either from the show to the games or back to the show, whatever. It kind of all goes together. So, yeah, I don't know, but after a while, who can memorize all of them? So I don't know. Maybe our brains aren't meant for that. But yeah, I don't know. So far, no one has been like, no more. It seems like it's fine.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes. I'm going to look at my watch to see. We've got 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So 8 minutes, guys.
Lightning round.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. What do you think of how like the localization stuff is like changed? Like, you know, rice balls going to Kelly Donuts.
Right.
Like,
Do they still
do you think
that?
that works?
Because I haven't watched it recently.
Probably.
In the first 8 years, they definitely changed things. And I have a feeling it was done because nobody knew that we as Americans would accept a rice ball because nobody knew what it was then. And so they called it a hamburger, you know, which is all ridiculous. But at the same time, it's fun to all laugh at that together. So, you know, it's a nice little joke for all of us. But I don't think it's necessary. And we all learned a lot about Japanese culture from watching the show. It was a nice introduction for kids. So I think it should always have been a rice ball or whatever it was, personally.
Question over here.
Who was your favorite gym leader? And you can't say Brock or Misty.
What's his name? Sarge? With a U or an A? What was it? U. Sarge, yeah. I liked him. I liked how he was yelling all the time. I loved the, this isn't a gym leader, but I loved the, everything leaves me. The lighthouse keeper, what was that guy's name? Maddie Blaustein played him. Anyway, he's not a gym leader, but I loved that guy. Yeah, because I didn't speak those lines, I don't really remember any of them as clearly. Because most of Ash's things were here, or he's like, sometimes, you know, they have the pictures where they're all standing looking at each other like this. So it's just, I have a distorted remembrance of the show. So, oh yeah, I can't say Misty, you said, darn it. Let's go with Serge. He was a little scary.
All right, so being a voice actor is a big part of your life. You said the other big part of your life is being a mother.
Yeah.
Do you ever use voices on your kids?
My daughter and I do accents all the time. We drove across country from New York to Los Angeles when we moved, and half the time we were just doing stupid things. Like, we made up these characters, you know, like, it's just so dumb. So no, but I don't ever go, like, you clean your room, or like, clean your room. I don't do that. Not on purpose. So no, I mean, I'm pretty real in my life because I love, being an actor means I can escape into other characters and I can be other people. And I find that you develop a great empathy for others and others' feelings because you understand it. You constantly have to literally be putting yourself in someone else's shoes, or sneakers, as the case of Ash. But so as myself, I try to find ways to be more grounded so that I can spring out and be other people. So I'm not that much of a weirdo at home in terms of that, but I just do other weird stuff. So I'm creative, let's say.
What are your hopes for the future of Pokemon as a series, as a franchise?
What are my hopes? Being part of Pokemon is two sides for me. One, it was a great character to play and a great thing to just be part of this imaginative and interesting world. But the second part was being able to come to conventions like this and meet all of you who, like I, have watched the show, have grown from it. And we have this kind of base morality that we've learned from the show about kindness and friendship and positivity and all of those things. And so for that, I'm very proud to have been part of that and very proud to meet people who we know each other without ever speaking. And so for that, I hope that it continues, and that I hope that it continues to spread that message, which I think, especially in the beginning, was so, you didn't need to be hit over the head with it, it was just there. And for that, I think it's really important. One thing I think, especially in these times when, I don't know, governments around the world are so fractured, and this is something that shows us the one world that we belong to. I've traveled around the world and talked to Pokemon fans, and everywhere people are the same. And somehow I hope that that oneness can spread in a bigger way. And if it's through Pokemon that we get together, then that's great. But it's been an incredible honor, and I don't know, it's just influenced my life in a bigger way to realize what a bigger part of things we all are, and we're joined together. So I hope that we can it helps us to come together if it continues. Otherwise, we just keep watching Netflix and then just watch those. But that's, I think it's been important in that way.
All right, our final questions over here.
Already? There's a lot of pressure on you. Okay.
So my question was a little bit of a follow-up to one I think we had back there.
Okay.
About just doing different voices. Now you said you and your child did silly voices going across country.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, have you ever caught yourself doing some of your voices out in public, just at the grocery store or anything? And if you had somebody recognize you from doing that voice?
Yeah, no one ever recognizes me at all. I did know this woman. I do a lot of English as a second language audio workbooks, which teach people in other countries English. That's one of my jobs. And this one woman I worked with, she said she went to, I don't know where she was, in Mexico or maybe Italy or something, and the person was like, I know your voice because they had listened to that ESL program. So that's pretty cool. For me, that never happens. But I have used a different accent when I've called my food order in and then realized, oh my God, I have to go in and pick it up now. So I have to remember what accent I used. And then God forbid it's a place I go to all the time, because then I have to use it every time I call. So I do shy away from that a little bit. But I did go up to some people playing Pokemon Go, and I was like, hey guys, are you playing Pokemon Go? And they're like, yeah. And they were adults, by the way. I was going to the bank, and they were standing outside the bank. And I was like, I used to play Ash on the show. And they were like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
And then I just, see what I mean? Nothing really matters at all. But thank you for coming here and making me feel like I matter. You guys, I'm going to be at my table the rest of today and tomorrow. But you can always find out where I am. So if I don't see you again, I hope to see you somewhere else, here or around the world. But thank you for taking this time with me. It's been so incredibly special. And I guess I'd have to say,
hey Dallas, I choose you!
No. Please sit down.
Thank you. Do I have to go through? Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, hold on. Okay, this is like a...
Oh, you're fine. Take your time.
All right.